I welcome you today to CSC Talk Radio. It is my honor, my privilege, and it is my pleasure to be here with you today. Well, I'm going to jump to it here. Today, Dr. Patrick Michaels returns, and we will open up the phone lines to you for short, quick questions and comments. This is part 2 of our shows that we have had on this. So how's the weather where you are? Well, baby, it's cold outside here in mid-Missouri. Not the climate warming I was hoping for. I was always under the impression that science and those who consider scientists were constantly questioning. And that's why the wherefores and the how can this be and if this is true and what makes it so, true science constantly questions. And that's how we continually learn and expand our knowledge of things, everything. The relativity of gravity, for one, we'd never have flown if that wasn't questioned and defied to some degree. True science invites debate. However, today there seems to be a civil war of sorts when it comes to the debate, the science that shouldn't be questioned, of climate change. Not to tell my age or anything, but when I was in high school, there was a warning of us ending up in global cooling, and the earth was cooling down, and it was man's fault, and we broke the ozone, stopped using the aerosol sprays, which isn't a bad thing necessarily, and I noticed manufacturers rose to the occasion and created new hairsprays and new deodorants and et cetera, et cetera. But now we don't hear that warning so much. Then we went from cooling, and they switched it up. We're in a warming stage. You need to stop using all that fuel. Lord have mercy, those gassy cows. Walk to work, bike to work. Well, walking is best for us, but if you work 25 miles away, you might be a little late. I know I would be. Some areas demand that you carpool, which is okay to some degree, but I kind of like to be alone in the car every now and then. I guess I'm a selfish person, willing to destroy the planet for my me time. A deplorable in the heartland. However, pun intended, what is heated up is this topic of climate change. We're told it's our biggest threat, and this controversy doesn't seem to be cooling off within our government, science, or our universities. They want more regulations and control over our water meters, our gas gauges, our thermostats, our tanks in the car, and our backyard barbecues. They, the climate change enthusiasts, believe we should not question their findings or their data, but real science looks for answers, not control, right? Well, that was until government decided to take it over, meaning take over science, and basically turned it into a pay-for-play, paid analysis, paid for climate warming findings and data control. Previously, Dr. Michaels mentioned to us, you know me, I have to look things up, but he mentioned pseudoscience. So I looked it up in the good old Webster's dictionary, and it says a collection of beliefs or practices mistakenly regarded as being based on scientific method. Well, we can listen to today's Chicken Littles like Al Gore and Tom Steyer, who tell us how to live and sacrifice while they manage no changes in their wealthy lifestyles. Or we could seek out the science, the data from others, and compare. Be a little scientist yourself and question, always question, to learn more. I've talked long enough now. It's time to bring back Dr. Michaels, and we will open up the phone lines at 877-895-5410. That's 877-895-5410. Dr. Michaels, Patrick, welcome back to CSC Talk Radio. It's our honor to have you with us.
Oh, it's great to be with you again. That was a terrific little introduction you gave there. I have to tell you, I was in graduate school when the global cooling thing came around and the next ice age thing. And I couldn't warm up to that one either.
Oh, I like the pun. Well, they did try to make a lot of changes, and I've mentioned this before on the air about and it's not a bad thing to make changes to try and do things better, like the aerosol sprays and all this and that. But I remember when they went through the deal, maybe you can remember too, I don't think it had anything to do with the air, but I could be wrong. But the toilet papers, the toilet paper could no longer be printed with pretty flowers or anything like that on it. That had to go away because that was all bad for the septics and everything. And so they quit doing all that. But I remember a lot of changes. I'm old enough. I remember a lot of changes as we tried to learn about the things that we're doing, and we're still learning. I mean, we've learned a lot about things in agriculture. We now put in terraces to avoid erosions, and we irrigate the fields, and we've learned how to do that, properly take care of the ponds and the lakes while we're doing that. So it's, we keep learning, and that's what science is about. It's not about finding an answer and stopping it right there. It's to keep learning. That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah, when the Environmental Protection Agency was started in the Nixon administration, the air quality in United States cities was awful.
Oh, yeah.
And it solved real problems. The problem is, though, that once you establish a big bureaucracy like that, it's not going to go away. And after it gets what we call the low-hanging fruit, all of a sudden it's got to go on to something else. So then we went on to acid rain. Do you remember acid rain?
Oh, yes, I do remember acid rain.
Rain is naturally has a pH of below 7.0, meaning that it's acid. And nobody could really find severe effects from this stuff. Maybe we should have called it half-acid rain.
Well, I think that's good. Continue, please.
I owe that to my late mentor, Reed Bryson, at the University of Wisconsin. He popped that one off, and I almost hit the floor.
Well, I'm sitting down, so I didn't do that, but I am pretty red in the face. That was good. That was great.
So what shall we do about today's apocalypse? We should recognize that people, at least in the United States, parenthetically, in the country that has reduced its carbon dioxide emissions more than any other country on Earth, that would be in the United States, they don't rank this very high on their list of political needs. In fact, they rank it so low that it didn't even show up in the last Gallup issue survey.
Yeah, I think people are worried about other things besides the climate outside. But, when we talk about the smog, I remember, and this would have been back in the 60s or the 70s, and maybe even the early 80s, when we would drive from where we are here in mid-Missouri to Kansas City. You could smell the city before you got there.
Oh, sure.
And it's not that way anymore.
No, it's been a remarkable cleanup. I went to high school in California, and I remember...
Oh, California, Missouri, or California State? I'm giving you a hard time.
California,
okay, go
California. Yeah, I remember the eye-stinging smog. I mean, that was really uncomfortable stuff. And so it was good that we established an authority to clean these things up. But unfortunately, authorities get a life of their own. And so now we have, EPA and its endangerment finding from carbon dioxide, meaning that it's terrible harm to human health and welfare.
And
you know what? If they actually calculated that right, and I have calculated it correctly along with a colleague, Kevin Dyer-Ratna from the Heritage Foundation, you know what we found that the cost of probably the most expected climate change is? You want to know the cost of the carbon dioxide?
Give it to me quickly.
It's negative. It's a benefit.
Well, I was going to mention a little bit about the smog in China, and I'll do that when we come back, and we'll get back to this conversation. You're listening to CSC Talk Radio. This is Beth Ann. I'm visiting today with Dr. Patrick Michaels. How's the weather where you are? 877-895-5410, and we will be right back.